Alright guys, I'm going to go over the area, perimeter, Pythagorean Theorem Worksheet, and if I have enough time, I'm going to go over the 3D figures worksheet before we have our review worksheet that we're going to work on class this week. So, we're going to start off. Basically, the big idea here is you need to understand each formula. So you need to know what shape you're working with. For example, I know number one. Believe it or not, number one is not a square, it's a rectangle. Which means you need to know that the area, the perimeter in the area formulas are different things. So if you see in the bottom right, I added the hint page with the formulas for a rectangle. So perimeter is 2 times the length times 2 times the width. So we're going to say that this is the length, 10 meters is the length, and we're going to say the width is 10.8. So although it looks kind of like a square, it is not a square. So my perimeter is going to be equal to 2 times the length, so 2 times 10 plus 2 times 10.8. So my perimeter is going to be equal to 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 10.8 is 21.6, so it's going to be equal to 41.6 meters. And I need to see that step. You have to show me how you plugged it in, or you're not going to get any credit. So the area is equal to length times width. So you have to show me area is equal to 10.8 times 10. So my area is equal to 1 in 108, and it's square meters. So don't forget your label. That's it. Number 2, it's a triangle. So the triangle, I've given you all 3 sides. So find the perimeter of the triangle. You're just going to add each side up. So you're going to show me 10 plus 8.66 plus 12. Look, all 3 are together. I showed that. It took me 2 seconds to write that line out. You have to show me this line to get credit. So 10 plus 12 is 22, plus another 8 is 20.66. And don't forget your label. The label is miles. So area is equal to 1/2 base times height. Now the base is 12, and this is the height. The height is always perpendicular to the base. So my area is equal to 1/2 7.1 times 12. You're just going to plug that in your calculator if you don't know it. Or you could do in your head 1/2 times 12 is 6. 6 times 7.1 is 42.6. So my area is equal to 42.6 square miles. And I'm going to double check that with a calculator. Alright, number 3. So number 3, just in case you didn't write this down, this was 7 inches. This was 6.02 inches. That was given. I just forgot to write that on, I guess, this picture. So my perimeter merits the distance around the triangle. I'm going to add 7. I'm going to add 6. I'm going to add 6.02. 7 plus 6 is 13. 13.6.02 is 19.02. So my perimeter is 19.02 inches. Now my area, that's going to be 1/2. The base, which is 6. The height, which is 5.7. So I'm just going to put my calculator. I use the 1/2. A lot of people will write base times height all over 2. If you're going to use base times height over 2, make sure you put those in parentheses. You do the top first, then divide by 2. So the reason I write it as 1ABC2, if I type in the calculator, is it forces you guys to split up the fraction, and usually you don't make a calculator mistake. So anyhow, I end up with area is equal to 17.1. Remember, it is square inches. So do not forget your label. So that's it for number 3. 4, it's a parallelogram or a rectangle. So the parallelogram, we're going to add up all 4 sides. So my perimeter, and remember a parallelogram by definition, 12, and this is 17. So my perimeter is equal to 17 plus 17 plus 12 plus 12. So 34 and 24, so my perimeter is equal to 58 inches. Now my area is equal to base times height. So this is the base, this is the height. Remember, the height is always perpendicular to the base. So my area is going to be equal to 12 times 7. So my area is going to be equal to 12 times 7, which is 84 square inches. Alright, that's it for 4. And I did forget to actually say the shapes there. So number 2 is a triangle. 3 is a triangle. 4 is a parallelogram. 5 is a parallelogram. So, number 5, we're going to do our perimeter. So our perimeter is going to be, remember, this 7 inches is over here, and the 11.4 is up there as well. So my perimeter is going to be equal to 7 inches plus 7 inches. Those are the two parallel sides, left and right. And then 11.4 and 11.4. So I'm going to have 22.8 for these two, and then 14 for those two. It's going to be 36.8. So my perimeter is 36.8 inches. Now I'm going to find my area. Remember, my area is equal to base times height. So this is the base, this is the height. So it's 11.4 times 6. So 11.4 times 6 is 68.4. And it is square inches. All right. Remember, you're not going to get credit unless you show me these steps right here. So make sure you show me these steps. Now 6 is a square, even though you could do it as a rectangle. It is a square because I see that those are the same. That and that's the same. So my perimeter for a square, if you want to be fast about it, my perimeter for a square is 4 times 2.5, or it's just going to be 10 centimeters. My area is equal to side squared, or my area is equal to 2.5 squared. So 2.5 times 2.5 is 6.25. So my area is equal to 6.25. Remember, it is square centimeters. 7 is a square. So once again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. My perimeter is going to be equal to 4 times 9.3. You could just do 9.3 plus 9.3 plus 9.3 plus 9.3, but I just did it that way. So my perimeter is equal to 37.2 inches. The area is side squared, or 9.3 times 9.3, or 9.3 squared. We end up with 86.49. So my area is equal to 86.49, and it's square inches. All right. 9 is a triangle. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping 8. I'm going to move everything over just a little bit. So 8 is a trapezoid. So if I look on here, the trapezoid formula says add all 4 sides together. So this side is also 6 inches. All right. So my perimeter is going to be all 4 sides together, 6.8 inches plus 7.2 inches plus 2.8 inches plus 6 inches. All right. So I just do 6.8 plus 7.2 plus 2.8 plus 6. I end up with my perimeter to be 22.8. It's just regular inches. Remember, perimeter is always inches, just regular units. Now my area. So the area for trapezoid, this is just the formula. I like to use this formula because it kind of, like I said, I like having the fraction up front. It kind of keeps you guys from making mistakes. These are the two bases because the height is perpendicular. So that's base 1 and base 2. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to do 2.8 plus 6.8. So it's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. And my height is just going to be 6 inches. So I just put in my calculator. I do 1/2. And if you're using one of my calculators, you can just type it in with the parentheses and everything. So 2.8 plus 6.8 parentheses times 6. So I have my area is equal to 28.8 square inches. Alright, 9 is a triangle. So remember, perimeter says add all three sides up together. So my perimeter is going to be 9 plus 4.22 plus 11. So I just add them up together. 9 and 11 is 20. So it's going to be 24.22. And it is meters. Area is equal to 1/2. The base is going to be 11. The height is going to be 3.3. So I just do 1/2 times 11 times 3.3. 1 ABC2 times 11 times 3.3. I end up with 18.15. So my area is equal to 18.15, and it's square meters. All right. Last one, it is another parallelogram. So that's a parallelogram. So remember, my perimeter is going to be 9.8, and the top side is 9.8, and then 10 centimeters, plus the other side is 10 centimeters. So it's going to be 9.8 and 9.8 is 19.6, plus 10 is 29.6, plus another 10 is 39.6. And it is centimeters. Now my area is equal to 9.8 times 10. My area is equal to 98, and it's square centimeters. And that's it. Now the second page of this, we are given the area, so we have to know the formula. We have to kind of work backwards. So it's a lot of Algebra 1 skills. It's a lot of solving simple equation skills. Now number 1, we don't know that it's a square yet. We do know it's at least a rectangle because of the 4 right angles. All right, so we do know that it's at least area is equal to length times width. So I'm going to put 1849 in for A. I'm going to put 43 in for L. And we don't know this, so we're going to call it X. So remember, to get X by itself, we just divide both sides by 43. So all I'm going to do is divide both sides by 43. So I do 1849 divided by 43, and I end up with X equals 43. And it is just inches because we are working backwards. We started, or I'm sorry, it's not. Oh, this is a trickery one. It is not inches. That is 43 feet. Now to find your answer in inches, which is what they want, you do have to multiply 43 times 12. And I end up with X equals 516 square inches. So that's your best answer right there. Now 12 is a trapezoid. So this is a trapezoid. So my formula is this: area is equal to 1/2 base 1 plus base 2, so that's right from our hint page, times the height. So there's my area. I'm going to put 174.5 in right there. So there's my area. Equals 1/2. We're going to say that's base 1. We're going to say that's base 2. And we don't know the height. We don't know the height. That's h. We don't know it. So we're going to put x. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to simplify this work right here. I'm just going to do 1/2 times 22 plus 6.6. So I'm going to have my area, which is 174.5. 1/2 times 22, 1/2 times 28.6 is 14.3 x. Now look, I just divide both sides by 14.3. So then I get x equals 174.5 divided by 14.3. It's 12.2. So it's, and now look at what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make that. So remember, this is called approximate. We use whenever we round. So I'm gonna, because it's not exactly 12.2, I had to like round it off. I'm gonna say 12.2 inches, and it just means about. So my answer for number 12 is about 12.2 inches. Alright, so we have a parallelogram, which means the area is equal to base times height. There's my area, so I'm going to put 1,147.2. It's going to be equal to the base. I see the base right here is 48. So that's the base. We don't know the height, so I'm going to put, since we don't know the height there, I'm going to put x. So now I'm just going to divide both sides by 48. So x is going to be equal to, I do 1,147.2 divided by 48. I end up with x equals 23.9. And remember, it's just miles. All right. 14, very, very similar. Once again, we do not know for sure that that is a square. We do know it's at least a rectangle. So I'm going to say area is equal to length times width. So my area is 2,332.9 equals, we know that this is the length. So we know that this is the length, so it's 48.3. And we do not know the question mark, so we call it x. So once again, just to get x by itself, I divide 48.3 by both sides. So I have 2,032.9 divided by 48.3. I end up with, it is about, so it's not exactly a square, but it's very, very close. It's about 48.3, and we're going to say centimeters. So for all intents and purposes, it is a square, but technically it's not, because it's not exactly 48.3 unless they end up writing that one to begin with, which we don't know. We have another parallelogram over here. So parallelogram, this is my area. So I'm going to say 1,149.5 is equal to my base, which is 41.2, times my height, which we don't know. So you can just make that an x. You don't have to use h. So now I divide both sides by 41.2. And we get x equals 1,149.5 divided by 41.2 is 20. It's about. So look, I'm going to change my equal sign to an approximate. And it's 27.9 centimeters. That's it. 16 is a triangle. So my triangle says the volume is equal to, or the area, I'm sorry, is equal to 1/2 base times height. So my 5,000, or 521.5, it's equal to 1/2. The base is 29.3. The height we don't know, so we're just going to call that x. So before I do anything, I'm going to do 1/2 times 29.3. So I end up with 521.5 is equal to 14.65 times x. Now to get rid of the 14.65, I divide both sides by 14.65. So I end up with x equals 521.5 divided by 14.65 is 35. It's about, so we're going to change my equal sign to an approximate. About 35.6 centimeters. Now remember, they want that in millimeters, so then my x is about 356 millimeters. Right, because there's 10 millimeters for every 1 centimeter. So that's the best answer for 16. Now I'm just going to do the exact same thing for 17, 18, 19. So 17, remember we have a trapezoid, so my formula is area is equal to 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So my area is 1,155. Now we have to realize that this is yards. All right, that's an important concept to understand. So we either have to make everything in feet or we have to make everything in yards. So this 38.1 is not in feet. I'm going to put it in yards. So I'm going to do 38.1. I'm going to divide it by 3. So I'm going to have 12.7 yards. 126, not in yards. So I'm going to do 126 divided by 3. I'm going to have 42 yards. So now we have the proper, everything's in the same measurement, and now I can actually do my formula the way I need to. So if you do it the other way, you're going to have wrong answers. So base 1, we don't know, it's in yards. That's why I made everything yards, because what I don't know is in yards. They want to know it in yards. Now the second base is going to be 12.7. Now the height is going to be 42. So I have 1,155 equals, I'm going to do half of 42. So I'm going to do the half and the 42 first to get 26. And then I have x plus 12.7. Now to get rid of the 26, you could distribute it. That's an option. I just think that takes too long, and it's just way better in the long run to always divide to get rid of multiplication. Instead of making things bigger with more multiplication, we get rid of multiplication by division. So I do 1,155 divided by 26. I end up with about 44.42. So I'm going to put 44.42 here equals x plus 12.7. Now to get rid of the addition, I have to minus 12.7 from both sides. So now I have x equals, and where it's not equals, I lied. It's approximately 44.42 minus 12.7. It's going to be about 31.72 yards. So that's why it's really important to pay attention to the labels. So the key word is show your work with labels. So there's lots of words. Keyword is show your work with labels. So 18 is another trapezoid. So remember, we're going to use this formula. Area is equal to 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. If you guys haven't figured out, the reason it's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2, they're just averaging the length of the two sides times the height. So everything is in feet. So I have 754. That's my area. 1/2. We don't know the first base, so we're going to call it x. We know the second base is 19.1. And we know the height is 26. So once again, I'm going to do the 1/2 and I'm going to do those numbers first. 1/2 of 26. So I have 754 equals 13 times x plus 19.1. Now remember, you can distribute. I'm going to divide. I just think it's the better. And the reason we don't subtract is, remember, the plus 19 is inside the parentheses, so you have to get rid of the 13 first. So I do 754 divided by 13. I end up with 58. So I have 58. So So I have 58 equals x plus 19.1. I minus 19.1 from both sides. So finally I end up with x equals 58.1 minus 58 minus 19.1 is 38.9. And it is feet. So 19 is another trapezoid, so same exact thing. I have area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So when everything's exactly the same, I know my area is 570.4 equals 1/2. That's from the formula. I don't know the first base. It's a question mark, so I just call it x. I know the next base is 9.9, so I put 9.9 there. And I know the height is going to be 23. So a lot of times they put that, like, they put those slant lengths there just to mess with you because you don't need them. Like in number 17, the 42.3, in number 18, the 30.4, in number 19, the 24.2. It's just to mess with you. Now I'm going to do 1/2 of 23, so I'm going to get 11.5 here. So I'm going to do this and this. I always do those two first just to make my life way easier. So I have 570.4 equals 11.4 times x plus 9.9. Now remember, I'm going to divide both sides by 11.5 first. So I end up with 570.4 divided by 11.5. I end up with 49.6. So I have 49.6 equals x plus 9.9. Now I subtract the 9.9 from both sides, just like we've done on the last 3 problems. So I get 49.6 minus 9.9 equals 39.7. So x is 39.7 feet. All right. Last one is, we don't know if it's a rectangle or a square. We're not sure. It could be a rectangle, it could be a square. So I'm going to say area is equal to length times width. So I don't know the length. Look, we don't know the length, so I'm going to call that x. We know the width is 5.1. We know the area is 26. So all I'm going to do is divide both sides by 5.1. So I do 26 divided by 5.1, and I get about, so if I round it to 2 decimal places, I get, if I round it to 2 decimal places, or if I round to the 10th or the hundredths, I end up with 5.1 kilometers. If I round it to 3 decimal places, I get x is about 5.098 kilometers. So that might not necessarily be a square. It could be, depending on if they rounded 5.1 out. But it's really, for all essential purposes, for us, it's a square. All right, it's pretty long, part 1 and part. So that's part 1. I'm gonna do another video probably in a couple days for the second part of this, and then I'll do a video for a 3-dimensional worksheet. So that's gonna be it for this.